I was looking at some stats earlier on that said there's been increased sexual inactivity amongst young men, which is an
Mm.
interesting stat. It's
Mm-hmm.
risen to almost 31% of men between the ages of 18 and 24 reporting no sexual activity in the past year. So that's
Mm.
almost doubled in about the space of 18 years.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting stat. High suicide rates amongst men. Men account for nearly 80% of all suicides in the US, the
Yep.
highest rate observed among 45 to 64-year-olds globally. Suicide is the leading cause of death amongst young men. And a survey conducted in the UK found that an increasing amount of men feel hopeless and worthless
Mm.
and that are struggling with finding meaning and purpose in the world.
Mm.
The plight of young men. You talk in your books and in your work about
Yep.
how the role of a man has changed and how that this might not be necessarily productive for the health and well-being of a man.
Yeah. We've taken away their purpose. When you take a human being's purpose away, remember the purpose for men was to protect their family, was to it was to hunt in the old days, feed their families, but it was also to protect their families. It was to provide for their families. And what we've done in reversing everything is although we raised up women, and there are certainly positive things about raising up women, but when we raised up women, we denigrated men. And I have 2 sons, so this is very personal for me. And I also see a lot of young men in my practice, young adult men. And what I'll say is that they feel discouraged, they feel purposeless, they feel diminished. Um, yeah. And there has been something vengeful, I think, about. So the feminist movement was meant to give women choice and to balance off what was imbalanced in society. But there's something vengeful about it. I think at moments I feel like there's something vengeful about the modern feminist movement, which is let's get them, let's diminish them, let's take over, let's push them out, let's beat them up, let's show them I mean, something really vengeful. So for me, the feminist movement was meant to create balance. It wasn't meant to set into play this other kind of imbalance. And, more than I think 60% of universities are women now, as well as graduate schools. And so that means, and the studies show that men will marry at their educational level or below. Women will only marry at their educational level or above. And by diminishing men so much in terms of our education and professions, we basically taken men's purpose away. They feel purposeless. And the
It's not even just that. It's more the fact that the same women who scream independent, don't need no man, I make my own money, they still want a man who's a provider. Yeah, don't get it fucked up. Don't think because she screams independent, don't need no man, that she doesn't want a man. No, she just wants a rich man. That's the difference. They don't want the average guy. And we know statistics show that most people are average. Women are average, men are average. But if average women don't want average men, so a woman making $60,000 thinks a man making $60,000 is not on her level. And why? Because he's not willing to pay for 4 trips to Cancun every single year. Because he's not willing to take her to an expensive dinner date. Because he's not willing to just send her $100 cash up every 2 days. So guess what? Most men are giving up. It's like, okay, if you're going to see me just for my money and my money alone, then what's the point? And also, if you're going to give me a chance, but on the side you're still looking for the richer guy, why should I play this game? So most guys are not playing the game anymore.
other thing is, and I'm going to say, when men stay home to nurture their children. Now, remember, as mammals, we have defined roles. That is not instinctual for men to stay home and nurture their young. It's a reverse of something. And the issue there is that there's an inverse relationship between oxytocin and testosterone. The higher the oxytocin, guess what?
The lower the testosterone.
Yes.
So if we're staying at home bonding, then
There's
our
a reason
testosterone
for
drops.
that. So mammals, when they are nurturing their young, they don't want somebody mating with them. Go away, right? So the idea is that when a female nurtures, she doesn't want to have sex. She doesn't want to, right? So the investment in nurturing pushes away the investment in mating.
And this is why I've read so
That sounds like a sexless marriage, right? Because we know sometimes women use, oh, I gotta take care of the kids, I gotta cook, I gotta clean, I gotta help the kids do homework. And then by the time she's done, let's say the man is feeling like he wants to have an intimate moment. She's like, oh, I'm too tired. I had a long day. And then one day becomes 2 days, 2 days becomes 3 weeks, 3 weeks become 3 months. And then some married guys are like, my woman has not touched me. My wife has not touched me in 3 months. Most guys are in sexless. I don't know if most guys, but so many guys in marriages are in sexless marriages.
many stats around men's testosterone dropping when they become fathers. I couldn't believe that was true when I read it.
It's true. There was some studies to talk about how women's testosterone goes up. Women have testosterone. When they're out in the work world fighting like men, that their testosterone goes up. And men's testosterone, when they stay home, goes down. Now, what that's doing for sex lives, there's some research about, that is the next wave, which is what does it do to sex lives? Because men have to perform. They have to get it up, to be crude.
Tell me about it.
And so if your testosterone is low, you're not going to get it up, right? Which is why there's all this Viagra and these patches and supplements and, because it's not instinctually normal for husbands to stay home and nurture their children. And that's the inconvenient truth. How that
Yeah, but these days women are screaming they want stay-at-home husbands. Actually, they are saying they want men to do 50-50 in the work, in the housework, not in the bills. No. Don't get it fucked up. They don't want to go 50-50 in paying bills. So they want the husband to help 50-50 in housework. So if she cooks this week, he cooks next week. If she takes kids to school this week, he takes kids next week. If she does laundry this week, he does laundry next week. But when it comes to paying rent, when it comes to paying mortgage, when it comes to buying food, when it comes to paying insurance, when it comes to buying medication, when it comes to buying gifts, when it comes to buying anything in the house, they still expect the man to go 100%. So it's confusing to men. It's like, okay, you want me to pay 100% of the bills, but you want me to go 50-50 on housework, which I'm not saying men shouldn't help in housework. I'm just saying that doesn't make sense, because it's not like these women are not working. They still want to work, but they want to save their money. So it's like the man pays 100% of the bills. He does 50% of the housework, but the woman is also working but saving her money. No, she's not spending her money, because how dare she spend her money when you, the real money, is supposed to be the provider?
affects men's and women's sex life when women come home from their banking jobs and their law jobs. Do their husbands not want to have sex with them? And, is that breaking up? So this is all I think this is the next wave of, we've reversed things societally so fast. And then we hope that our evolutionary bodily responses are just going to catch up in merely a century. And it just doesn't, evolution doesn't work like that. It takes hundreds, if not thousands of years to change our bodily evolutionary responses, right?
It's never going to
instinctual
change.
responses. So this is, it's problematic. And also when men's testosterone goes down, they get depressed. So they don't perform sexually well. They get depressed. They feel purposeless. They can't do what they're instinctually supposed to do, which is provide, protect, hunt. We talk about DEI. I mean, why aren't we talking about DEI when it comes to men and women? Why aren't we talking about balancing the scales, giving men purpose again? And honestly, we should be talking about what happens to men when they actually do stay home and nurture their young.
Is there stats to support the idea that if you're at home raising your kids as a man, you struggle in the bedroom?
So there was some research I know that was going on about that, how it affects sex drive. But when your testosterone goes down, it does affect sex drive.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not.
Yeah, because if a man is not out here grinding, maybe going to the gym, conquering the world, he doesn't have motivation for anything, let alone sex. If we're gonna be honest, you can't think about sex if you are home all day sleeping, watching movies. Like I don't see it happening. Like she said, if you're not building, because as men, our testosterone only gets produced if the body is working. And if you're just staying home, sure, you're gonna do laundry and cook a meal. Okay, that doesn't raise your testosterone. That's why gym or going to the gym to lift weights is one of the ways actually is recommended to produce testosterone for men. And we know men's testosterone is connected to having sex, like she said.
Not talking about it. So I have anecdotal patients. I have a patient whose wife was a hardcore woman in finance, and he couldn't. He lost interest in her. He had to go out of the marriage and have affairs with women who were more feminine, who were more, so he could feel as if he could play that masculine role. He couldn't do that in his marriage. And so, are we going to see kind of a shift in society as a result of this? We're already seeing it. I mean, the other thing that we're doing is
It's
to
been
young
happening.
boys. Let's talk about what we're doing to young boys. This starts very young. We basically educate young boys in a way that really favors girls. From a very young age, we talk about being able to sit quietly and regulate your emotions and not be aggressive and not be impulsive. And these little boys are being diagnosed with ADHD, many of them just from being little boys. Little boys need to run around. They have a lot of physical energy. They have tons of testosterone. When you're like between 3 and 6, you have a surge of testosterone, and all you want to do is run and jump and play and be outside. And what we're doing, we're putting them in school, making them sit in circle time. So we marginalize them, we label them, we say they have a problem, we say that they have ADHD, they have behavioral problems. And in many of them, the stress that I talked about is the stress of making little boys be more like little girls.
Yeah, in fact, some fathers do it too. Um, when their sons are all over the place, breaking things, the house, running around, they're more energetic. They don't care to go outside and run and do whatever they want to do. They're always screaming, "Why don't you be like your little sister? She's more calm. She listens to me." But it's like he's just being a boy. He just wants to play. And then fathers don't play with their sons anymore. Let's talk about it. Now, especially in the black community, there's less fathers in the house, but fathers play with their sons less and less these days. Which the father is the first man who shows the boy how to behave, discipline, be like a man, gives him purpose, gives him motivation. But if there's no father figure, the son is probably going to end up, being diagnosed and being directed by the mom, and then obviously mostly uh, female teachers in the school, and then the system.
And that's where it starts. And so then they go into childhood. And again, the educational system favors the way girls learn, not the way boys learn. How do boys learn? Boys
By
have
doing
attention
things.
spans for very short periods of time, and then they need lots of physical activity.
Mhm.
So ideally, if you go to and look at the boys' schools, what do? They run the boys like running the dogs in the park. They sit for 45 minutes or half an hour, but then the boys get time off to run around. And then they'll sit another half an hour and then they'll run around. I mean, they have like 4 recess periods a day. And so that's really better for boys. And little girls have more of a capacity to sit quietly in circle time and sort of, they don't have as much testosterone. They don't have that need to run and jump and play to the same degree that little boys do. They do need to play. We're not letting our kids play, boys and girls, because we're trying to force left brain development on them too early. But we are forcing little boys into this box, and they're not doing well in that box. And then they're labeled. They're labeled as having behavioral problems, ADHD, and that label then follows them.
Yeah, that label follows them, and all the way to adulthood, from being ADHD to being to, I don't know, lack of being indisciplined. When they grow up, they're called toxic masculinity, misogyny, and all those stupid shaming languages they use.
Through childhood, sometimes into middle school, into high school. Yeah.
What would you change? I make you prime minister of the world, president of the world, and you can fix this issue.
Oh, I would have little boys educated separately than little girls in the early years. In the early years, I would have boys' schools and girls' schools because little girls learn differently. And also, there's been a lot of evidence to show that in the early years, when you do single gender education, little girls will try things, will take risks with things that they wouldn't in front of little boys. And little boys will try things that they wouldn't take risks in front of little girls. Like little boys are more likely to try art and painting and music. Little girls are more likely to try STEM and math and, all these things that we talk about little girls should do. So the idea is that single gender education in the early years is better for little kids because they learn differently.
What about as a
Personally, what I would change, I would make sure that every boy is raised by his dad. So for the single moms who are of their sons raising their sons, if the fathers are dead, give the son to the next uncle, who obviously it's gotta be upstanding uncle, good behavior, good character, a good man who can raise a boy into a man. So for me, that's what I would do. And I would make sure, you see how single moms get support from the government, whether it's benefits, whatever, for single moms to raise the kids. I would do the same funding for fathers who are going to be active fathers in their son's life. I would give them a little bit of money to help raise boys into men.
relates to men, what would you change to fix the issues you were talking about with testosterone and those kinds of issues?
Talk about it. We should be talking about it. We don't talk about this issue. How many times have you heard what I just said? People don't talk about the fact that
Facts.
if we're going to flip this around and have men be the nurturers, they're going to have pretty low testosterone. You're going to have to supplement their testosterone. And so, and also you take their purpose away evolutionarily and they get depressed. Women have many sources of self-esteem. They have work, they have children, they're relational. And for the most part,
Friends too.
historically, men found their self-esteem from meaningful and purposeful work and also from protecting their families. So what we've done is we've taken their purposeful work outside the home away. We've made their purposeful work staying home with children, and we've lowered the testosterone. So if you look at it and say, we're trying to switch, it's like a social experiment. We're trying to change something that's taken thousands of years of evolution to create in just, less than 100 years. And it's problematic. So what would I do? I would talk about it. I would have couples talk about it. I think they need to talk about the competitiveness. I think they need to talk about the envy and the jealousy and even the disappointment. I mean, a woman who comes home and sees her husband caring for the children, on the one hand, she might say, oh, my husband's so sweet and lovely, and I love that he cares for my children. And on the other hand, she says to her friends, I wish he was bringing in more money, and I wish he was taking care, I wish he was taking care of me. So it's problematic.
There was a longitudinal study done in the Philippines.
Personally, the talking about it is a good step, but the only issue is the people who talk about these issues. For example, in that case, if it's a woman talking about it, other women are gonna call it pick me, and then the men who speak about it, they're called toxic, misogynist. They say they hate women. So most men, there is more talk about men issues men are suffering, but again, the men who talk about it are being attacked every single day. It's like if someone tries to say something positive about men, people turn it into you hate women, which is not a fair assessment. But anyway, shout out to Dario of a Daily CEO. So I'll put the link down below.